In this unit, we're going to start to look at the sociology of groups and organizations. This is definitely an overview as there is a lot of content that we will not have time to cover, but is in much greater depth from your textbook. So, as we start to think about social groups consist of a number of people who have a common identity, some form of unity, and there's really a number of common goals and shared norms. In the last unit, we started to talk about crowds and kind of being at the same place, same time. That's not a true social group. A group really has these other elements of identity and unity. An aggregate is simply that people are temporarily in the same physical proximity. So think about waiting in line at the grocery store, maybe if you're waiting at a bus stop, that's going to be an aggregate. This group of people waiting in line while having the common purpose of checking out of a grocery store doesn't necessarily share any type of unity or shared norms. It's very much same place, same time. Completely opposite of that is a group that really is influential in our development, which is a primary group. Small in size, intimate, very much focused on face-to-face interaction and interactions over a long period of time. They're going to provide you emotional support, socialization, and promotion of the group and social conformity. Often any group, whether primary or not, if it's truly a social group, is going to have a lot of functions. They're going to define their boundaries, whether that's a ring, a hat, a pin, maybe it's your uniform. So if you work at Magic Mountain, you know you work at Magic Mountain in many ways because you're wearing a particular uniform. It defines the boundaries of that social group. They often choose leaders, so well-formed groups will have some form of a leader, whether that's by nature in, let's say, a workplace where you have a specific organizational structure, or maybe it's that the group in and of itself elects leaders. They often will make decisions. What direction does the group want to go? How do we want to set up new norms? There will often be goal setting. What does this group want to accomplish? Are there common goals that we want to work on together? And they will often assign tasks. So again, groups in the general way we talk about groups in society is one thing. When we talk sociologically about groups, we're really talking about social groups that have all of these elements. Now, certainly there's the concept in this unit of bureaucracy, and that is essentially defined as a mechanism or an organizational model in which it's got efficiencies to the process, equity, fairness, very much a functionalist way of thinking. And most of them are going to have key elements as Weber described, the first of which is a division of labor or specialization. Think of a bureaucracy in this way. They want everyone to be specialized in one particular thing so that it can go from you to the next person, and never once do you have to know all of the steps. You just need to know your part. Now, I'm not suggesting this is the best model, but it's why bureaucracy is seen as this impartial and very fair system where everything has a purpose and feels very functionalist in that way. In a bureaucracy, there's a hierarchy of authority, right? So here's a very classic org chart, not from College of the Canyons, but certainly from some other places. And there's always this very finite order of things. People know where they stand, who they are, who they report to, what their social position is in that organization. Very, very much firm and defined. Rules and regulations are a common component of a bureaucracy, right? So if you've ever joined some organization, they hand you a massive rule book as you walk in, or maybe as you join College of the Canyons, they gave you lots and lots of information online and in print as to what all the rules were of the college. That's a real core element of a bureaucracy. It helps keep everyone fair and equitable if applied universally. There's often very formal written communications. In a real bureaucracy, it's not that you just gather in a hallway, chat about a decision, and go forward. Instead, it's that you have very written ways of doing things. Everyone takes notes. Those notes are acknowledged. They're circulated. There's memos. There's forms. You think of the DMV. The DMV is a great way of looking at very formal written communication. Everything's got paperwork. Finally, there's a technical competence. You hire people for skill in a bureaucracy, in theory. What that means is you're not hiring your friend, your uncle, your niece. Instead, you really hire the person who is most qualified for the job based on tests, based on their skills, based on college degrees, etc. Finally, the last two. So 6 is that it's very impersonal or impartial. The bureaucracy itself doesn't really care about you. They care about what you bring to it from a functional perspective. So it's not to say that it is uncaring or designed to be mean, but that is essentially the element of what a bureaucracy is known for, which is this impartiality to basically get the process as efficient as possible without worrying about the people. And finally, one of the big dividers in a bureaucracy is a distinction between your real public and personal life, meaning that at work, in a bureaucracy, they see you as work. There's not a need for worrying about some of the social elements outside of that. There's not a need to personalize it because, again, it's all about optimizing the process. So as you think about this, make sure you go back through the chapters. There's a lot of other concepts of groups and organizations, but these were just some of the key ones that I wanted to make sure that you were aware of.